Thanks, Brian, for your help.
Mr. Chairman, we're live.
Hey, we are out of executive. Our next agenda item is an action item. We're going to interview planning and zoning commissioner applicants. And Cindy, you're going to bring them in
Do you want?
one at a time, please?
Oh, I lost it, sorry. I mean, I wanted high security.
Will you put up the curtain there too?
Huh?
Put up that curtain too. Don't think we're still in.
I can figure it out.
So people don't hear the screams or see the screams.
There we go. So, one of you.
Stethoscopes.
Been released.
Thanks, Jonathan.
You're welcome.
Get it back up.
Tasha was here first.
Are we going to?
That's a
Where would you
longer
like me?
option for discussion.
Here?
Where you're comfortable.
How are you? Fine. Thank you.
Ken, we're doing one at a time. You can go sit with Jonathan over in my office.
So welcome, Sasha.
Thank you.
I appreciate your energy and your desire to serve.
Thank you.
I was on P&Z a long time, and it's a really good experience. And to be quite honest with you, I haven't read your application letter yet.
I brought you an extra one if you need one.
Got them, but let me find it again, so. Have them opened up.
So you lived in Valley County more than 5 years.
I have.
Do you mind asking where you live?
We live off of Ilka Lane, just south of McCall.
Okay.
Cindy, who else do we have that's from McCall? We don't have anybody right now, do we?
Currently, we have Catlin. She's from Cascade. Scott's from Round Valley. And Neil Thompson at East Lake Fork.
We need a northern.
So Sasha, tell us why you want to do this.
I feel like, well, this is just kind of in my wheelhouse anyways. I'm a realtor and a developer. My husband's in construction. But more so than that, as good of experience as it is and all of that, I just feel like it's important for people to give back and to contribute. In the development world, I kind of face a lot of the issues that our county and the city of McCall and city of Donnelly and Cascade are all dealing with. I hear a lot of the complaints, but I feel like it's really important to be part of the solutions instead of just being one that can bring forth, these are the issues that are here. We all know them. We all struggle with them. But I feel like it's just really important to give back in a way that you can be part of the solution.
And you understand that a lot of these applications and the processes are kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Not secret, but you're purview to a lot of information that the rest of the world isn't, and that you must maintain that line. Do you understand about public meetings and how those are ran? Have you ever been involved with any experience in that arena?
Yes, I have. So I'm the MCAR president this year. I've sat on several associations as a counselor as well. And then I've just been I've been on the applicant side for P&Z and city council, never for the county. We've had several that have almost come, but always for the city of McCall.
Okay. So normally what we do on these kind of interviews is we each take turns, so I'm gonna let these guys.
So one of the things we're dealing with is right now, I mean, growth at a scale we haven't seen here before. So I don't want to ask you too much about it, but I'd just love you to give us your perspective on how do we manage that growth and what does that look like to you since you're going to potentially be at the forefront of it.
I feel like we have big issues, obviously, that we all are aware of workforce housing and massive infrastructure issues. So I really feel like we need to look at codes and ordinances and policies in probably a new way. I know, I mean, the Valley County Comprehensive Plan has been updated a whole bunch of times, but there's still some things that are lacking there. Every time I've gone through the city of McCall's process, it's been amazing to me that there are codes and things that are still adhered to that just really are no longer appropriate based on what we're seeing today. But then I really feel like education and working really carefully between or really specifically between the private and the public sector is vital. Really understanding what developers need to come in and develop in a way that we feel like is responsible and ethical and driven in the right direction is vital. And so that I feel like I could help potentially with that marriage between the private and the public sector and what the cities and the counties are looking for, but also how a developer might look at the policies and ordinances and things that they're going to be working within. And so I really feel like it's education and working carefully between the private and public sector.
So being in real estate, I've had to recuse myself from, specific hearings. You would need to do the same, and you understand that.
Absolutely.
And then the one thing that we continue to hear, and we're trying to manage this and figure out what this looks like moving forward, but I'd like your input on it. We currently have one zone within Valley County, and then everything is done by conditional use permit. And we're looking at the potential of looking at certain areas that we know are always going to be residential and getting those zoned residential, always commercial, always industrial. How would you engage in that process? What's your feelings about that moving forward?
It's such a fine line, right? Like private property rights are a really valuable thing that we hold as citizens of Idaho and the United States. However, I feel like the move towards more appropriate zoning in specific areas is vital for our growth going forward. And so I feel like there's a lot that we can look at from places that have done it well and places that haven't. I feel like that we're going to need to educate ourselves on what that looks like and really take from the community, because that's scary to the community. Learning that their endless options may not be endless to them is really something that's unpopular with a lot of people. And so I think it's going to be a really patient, slow process, but I feel like it's vital, and public, being very aware of how the public feels about things, and then the process of being educated, because I hear, all kinds of different complaints and then possible solutions that are uneducated. They have no idea that what they're saying may sound like a decent option, but it robs someone else of their property rights, or we can't do that because it conflicts with the Constitution or whatever it might be. And so I feel like educating the public is really, really vital, and in a way that they can receive, because I feel like public education often happens in a way that people can't receive the information anyways. So does that kind of answer your question?
So Sasha, getting back to the private property rights, do you feel like we're overregulated up here or underregulated?
I wouldn't even put it in those terms. With the caveat of the city of McCall, I feel like there's some massive overregulation going on there, and in some ways it's not even overregulation, it's inappropriate regulation, in my opinion. But I wouldn't say in Valley County we're over or underregulated. I just think that an overall plan that people understand, that makes sense, that's really a perspective of our long-term, not just the next 10 years or 20 years. I mean, we have a significantly long-term plan that really incorporates things like infrastructure and water quality and all of the things that are kind of impacted when we have this massive development are the way we need to go. And that's not to say that should be over regulation here and less regulation here. It's just looking at it as a whole and trying to find what's appropriate for what we think might happen over the next 100 years. So I don't know if that kind of answers your question.
It does. I think the county tried to zone, I remember the year,
70s, late 70s.
and we actually had some pretty irate citizens, people that were not very happy, and a lot of physical violence and threats, and I'm not sure we're ever going to get it done again. But the goal in the original group was the fact that if you own a piece of property and if you wanted to do something with it, you went to the county and said, this is what I want to do. And the county advertised 300 feet around to all the neighbors, And if nobody had any complaints, you got a permit. If somebody had complaints, then you did. And I really like that system. I think it's fair because then the local people around that application are the ones that are really controlling it. And I hope we can retain some of that. My concern with zoning is, okay, you're gonna stay ag. And you're gonna stay, this is gonna be industrial. Well, maybe I don't wanna be industrial, but that's tough because you live in the wrong area. And that's where the kickback is really gonna hit hard. And I hope we can get through it. And it's not gonna be something that's gonna be 3 or 4 meetings or a month or 2 or a year. I think it's gonna take a long
I agree.
process.
I agree.
And you're up for that kind of work.
Absolutely. I think it's really vital that you have people committed to specifically that. I 100% agree. We are going to have to be patient in that process.
Okay, somebody else's turn?
You're a busy lady. You have time to do this?
That's one of the questions I was gonna ask.
Yes, I think you make time for what's important to you. My time with MCAR will come to an end at the end of this. It's one more, I've committed to be there, to be on the board for 1 more year. I'll be involved, but not quite in the level that I am now. But this is really important to me, so I'll make the time for it.
Okay, any more questions?
How good are you at stating your point? It's communicating with your fellow commissioners.
I'm pretty straightforward. So I don't think I'll struggle with communicating.
Well, it's not so much communicating, it's getting along.
Oh.
I mean, just, working together, even though you don't agree with someone. And it happens a lot in public service, it does, but.
I'm a marriage and family therapist also, so.
I didn't know that.
I saw that on your resume or your application, and I was like, well, that's a good start.
Right. It's helpful. It's certainly helpful. So, yeah, I think I can get along with people pretty well.
Good. Well, the way this works, we're going to interview the other two, and then we will notice as soon as we kind of make our decision. So thank you for coming in and signing up.
Thank you,
If you
guys.
chose to appoint people today, the first meeting would be 5:30 Thursday.
So you're ready to go right off the bat, sounds like.
I can certainly be here.
Okay.
So, well, thank
So did you explain to her all
An
the
important one. I think.
per diem stuff and keeping track of your mileage and all that?
No.
Well, if she's appointed, I'll go through all that.
Okay. All right.
Thanks, you guys.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too.
I'll let you know.
Thank you.
Okay. You want to send someone else in, please?
I will.
Thank you, Sasha.
Hey, Ken, come on in. Come on up to the front, grab a seat.
Okay.
You want us to kick your kid out of, she's okay.
She's here for moral support.
Yes.
Welcome, sir. Thank you for signing up.
Again,
Good, the world is ran by volunteers and those who show up. Couple of things off the bat. I know these kind of sound silly, but you've been here for 5 years,
I have.
so you're legal that way. Can you tell us, kind of in your own words, why you want to do this?
So I think my cover letter somewhat explains that. I will say that when I look around at some of the things that happen in the county, I think of the next generations, not only the ones sitting in the room, but also the grandkids. And I've asked myself many times, what are we leaving them in the future? And I was pretty involved, as I think some of you are aware, with the planning and zoning previously. 1999, I was appointed by the commissioners and I came into the Planning and Zoning Commission. Basically, I think Cinda can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe we had 2 P&Z members supporting Tamarack development. Back in those days, it was
One.
Valbon. Or was it 1?
West Rock.
And then, West Rock. And then we had a couple commissioners that were opposed, and I found myself in the middle. So I felt like it was important to set up a process that flushed out a lot of issues. And we developed an issues list to address everything from fish and game impacts to schools to lighting issues to road capacities. And we had a lot of meetings. But at the end, I remember when we went to the state land board meeting to make the recommendation with the county commissioners, I really felt good about the proposal that had been presented. I think some of that experience is something that I would like to offer again to the county. That I've learned a ton since I've been on planning and zoning 20 years ago. I've learned a lot about the rule of law, learned a lot about state government, federal government, and a lot about Idaho statutes. And I think it's imperative that we go through a process that rests on the rule of law and on good ordinances and good statutes to carry the day. So those are some things that I think I can offer. I've volunteered a lot in my life over the years, from school board to planning and zoning to I'm currently on the Farm Service Agency board and several other things that I do. But that's how you give back to a community, and it's how you are involved in it, and you have a bit of a say in what happens. So that's a little bit why I'm interested, I guess.
So where do you think we're the weakest
As far
as a county, as far as P and Z or ordinances, all that?
So I've recently, in the last week, refreshed and kind of went back over some of the ordinances again, some of the Ludo. And, you know, my dad was on the original planning and zoning back in 1974, 78, whenever that was. I can't remember. And I think there was a lot of wisdom that played out in some of those early ordinances. In fact, many of those guiding principles are still in use today. Valley County is changing, whether we like it or not. And I'm concerned that maybe some of those, some of the ordinances might need to be looked at again in the environment that we find ourselves today. That doesn't mean we throw everything out. We absolutely have to retain the wisdom from those early governing principles. I think it's important to have ordinances that are clear not only to a potential developer, but they're also clear to the citizens of the county. I can expand on that further if you'd like me to, but I think fundamentally, I think that's where we're broken. I think it is imperative that we keep up to date on the land use development ordinances and the comp plan so that we have what this community desires at this time, with looking into the future as well.
Does that include zoning?
So I know when I was originally on Planning and Zoning Commission, I loved that we had a multi-use county. I can see today that there are parts of Valley County that could likely be zoned and maybe should be. To do a blanket zoning for the whole county and saying that, you know, this land is going to be commercial 2, this is going to be residential 3, or whatever it is, that's a firestorm that I don't think any of us in this room want to deal with. But I do think that it does make some sense, especially around some of the more urban areas like the McCall, Donnelly, Cascade areas, potentially Lake Fork, where it makes sense to actually step in and do some zoning so that, number one, people understand if you are a business person, you want to come to this county and set up a business for cleaning linens, let's say, where would you go? There ought to be a place that says this is a spot where this type of a business can be and should be located. If you're a factory, a processing facility, where would you go? There probably ought to be a place for those type of businesses to locate in the county. So in that sense, I think it does make some sense to have some zoning so that there's clear direction about where those types of businesses can locate, so that we don't have a mix and match spread across the entire county. Because I think that's what causes citizens to fill up this room and bigger rooms when proposals come that don't fit into the concept of the community. So along those lines, I would say, yes, some zoning is probably in order at this time. And that's a change from where I was 20 years ago.
It'd be a big process. Do you have the time to put into it right now? I mean, if we start down that path, as you well know, that's gonna be a pretty heavy lift for our planning and zoning commission.
It will be. And I've been blessed with a set of maps already. I do have extra time in the winter times. I predominantly, I live here 98% of the time from April 1st through basically the 1st of December. I do spend a fair amount of time in Eagle during the winter time when I'm not driving truck now. So, but I'm committed, and the reason why is because I have an interest in what we're leaving our kids and grandkids.
Which is a great reason to get involved.
We have got a lot of planning to do in the next few years. Tamarack's expansion, Frontage is expanding. We have a mine that's under review right now. So we are going to have a lot of things to consider. And I liked your comments on the zoning, because I think you're right. We can't just go in and rubber stamp the county. It's going to spend a lot of time and energy looking at what makes sense and what doesn't make sense, and making sure that we're following all of the proper, or have the proper tools in place to do that. So that is going to take some time and energy. But I love that you have past experience, because it is something that we need to build on our history. History is really important to our community, and we need to build on that while at the same time recognizing we are changing. People are frustrated with change, so we need to dig down and find out why they're frustrated. Somebody said the other day, they were just going to put a moratorium on. Well, you can't do that legally. I mean, we can't just say, sorry, we're not going to build anymore. We have to find out why they're frustrated. Well, in McCall, it's because you can't turn left for 9 months out of the year. So transportation planning is important.
Right.
And this is a moment in time with our transportation planning that we really need to move forward and making sure that we're engaging all of the different areas that we are going to be most impacted, and roads are one of them. So it will take a lot of time. I'm just I'm not really asking a question. I'm just making a statement that we have a lot of planning tools we need to develop.
Yep, I absolutely agree. And I know that this probably isn't in the wheelhouse of planning and zoning, but I am familiar with the process, or quite familiar with the process that the county went through a couple of years ago to try to get a road or highway district formed. And I'm not, I actually think that's needed in the county. I'm not sure exactly the timing. I don't want to spend a lot of time on that, but I do have some ideas about how that could be accomplished. I do have some ideas about things that happen about impact fees. I know that some people think that's a word you shouldn't use, but if communities don't assess the appropriate amount of upfront money from impacts and from developments, what it does is, you well understand property tax. When the road department, for example, has to build a new road, they put it in their budget, and that impact is spread across all taxpayers of the community, not just those who caused the impact or the new impact. So I think there may be some discussions necessary about that, creating the appropriate nexus for who pays for what when it comes to, especially to new capacity and new infrastructure. Not saying that that's something that it lines up with existing infrastructure. Existing is what the general populace should pay for. But when you look at new capacity issues, whether it's a road, even a sewer system or whatnot, your new developments should upfront that or pay for that impact, not the
We
existing
need him on the
taxpayers.
impact fee board.
Yeah, and I was just gonna say, we are in the process of getting all those impact fees kind of dialed in and figured out to an actual value. Hopefully within another month or two, we'll be moving on that direction with impact fees on new development. We didn't include the jail because our jail right now is not full. We have plenty of capacity in it, but we did include roads and fire, EMS. I can't think of the others.
Sure.
Sheriff. And so we're going down that path, and I think it's, to me, what I like about that is that we can kind of massage those numbers as we go through time. Just if development slows down, perhaps we can lower some of those fees because we're not, so we can kind of control how fast we grow with impact fees to a certain extent, what the law will allow. But as you and I both know, we've been here long enough that these are new things for us. And it's hard for old guys to change. And that's been my biggest challenge, and I'm sure it's going to be yours, is they're going to come to a point in your life where we may hurt you financially as a farmer, but in the long run, we're going to really be taking care of your kids or your grandkids. And that's what I try and think about, and I'm sure that's what you're thinking about too. But, not just next year, but 50 years from now.
Exactly.
Do you have any questions for us?
Not particularly. I guess maybe logistics about one thing. When is your plan to make a decision? When do you?
Probably by the end of the day.
Oh, today. Okay. All right. And I understand that there's a work session on Thursday with commissioners. If I am selected, I would love to be at that session. I would need to know as soon as I could, because I may have to make some changes.
Hopefully you will know by the end of the day, and yes, there is a meeting Thursday night that you'll be expected to
It's
attend.
open to the public, so just plan on attending
Yeah.
one way or another.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to number one apply. I also want to thank the three of you for the work that you do for this county. I know it's not a quote full-time job.
Sorry why I laugh.
I know, and I get that. I get that you put in a lot of hours, well above. I remember Tom Kerr as a commissioner. He had a meeting virtually every day when he sat on those chairs. And so it's good community service. Thank you for your service. Doug and Cindy, you guys are also to be commended for the work that you've done over the years. So I've given the opportunity. I'd love to serve. I believe I am a good team player. I do know how to run organized meetings. That's something that I have done a lot of. And I think there's a lot of times discussions at meetings drift in such a way where it's obvious that there's not enough information to make a good decision. And if that's the case, the topic needs to be put on hold for a time instead of making a poor decision. I also think that a meeting is something that you set up an agenda and you lay out a journey. And this is the journey we're going to attend this evening during this meeting. We're going to visit these 3 or 4 stations or 5 stations and join us on the journey. And if we have enough information to make decisions, we will. If we don't, let's get the right information. So that's a little bit about how I believe a meeting should be run. I am also a servant style leader. I'm not afraid to sweep the floor. That's an example. So that's a little bit about my style I used at the tax commission and everywhere else.
it's crazy because we have a great HR person that has run us through what's called a TTI, which is how you communicate, how you think, how you operate. And it's been very valuable because we're all different personalities. And some of us are from the hip and some of us don't ever shoot. And I mean, it's just kind of one of those things that you learn how to really communicate and listen to other people. And it's pretty valuable. Kind of spendy, but it's pretty valuable.
One other thing I would say is my profession as an agriculture. I'm so excited that I have an opportunity to have a next generation or two coming up. And that's really important for this valley. And so I think when I look at planning and zoning issues, I'm also going to be looking at it through the eye of a rancher or a farmer that says, make sure that we have a regulation or an ordinance that still allows for that to be a successful industry and a profitable industry in the county.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
if the whole county's all subdivisions, nobody's going to want to come here.
Agreed.
Okay, thank you. We will be in touch.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Ken.
your time. Appreciate your efforts.
And if you could send Jonathan in, that'd be great.
Everybody could probably hang out while we discuss it afterwards, but we can make a decision right away. Anybody want water?
I'm good, thanks. Jonathan, come on in, grab a seat. Welcome.
Thank you.
First of all, thank you very much for sticking your hand up. The more I've been in government, the more I realize that most of our associations and boards and commissions are all volunteer folks. And it's pretty amazing to see people stand up and work for nothing. Anyway, way this will work, we'll kind of each take turns asking questions, and I'll kind of get started. Tell me why you want to do this.
Oh, boy. I've actually didn't think about any questions that you guys might ask, but I would, why would I like to do this? Well, I would like to protect the interests of people relative to planning and zoning the way that I see things. And so I think my view is maybe a little bit different from, I guess, considering my background than other people's. I know the other two candidates that were in here are both really good people, and I think we probably share very similar views, in fact, on a lot of things. And so if you're asking why I would be a better selection than either one of those, I don't know that I would be. They both are very qualified individuals, but given my background, given my experience, I think I'm a pretty well-rounded individual, not just in property and not just in Valley County, but I'm from Idaho, lived here my whole life, and pretty conservative values, and I want to see Valley County. I would like to see Valley County be developed, actually. I like development, but I just like to see it in a controlled manner. And historically, I don't know that there was, no offense to anybody that's in the room or that's been around a long time, I don't know that there was a ton of control over some things for whatever variety of reasons, but I'd like to see Valley County I would like to see development encouraged instead of the other way around. Anyway, I could ramble on for a long time.
It's okay, that's the way we learn about you.
Yeah, so I'm from, do you want me to tell you a little bit about myself so you guys get to know me? So born and raised in Eagle. I've lived, first graduating class of Eagle High School, lived in Eastern Idaho and Western Idaho, Seattle, Portland, Eugene, Spain, and then back here in Idaho. I got the opportunity to live wherever I wanted with one company, and they said, we'll pay for you to relocate with you and your family. So I said, well, there's nowhere better in the world than Idaho. And so brought my family back here. But grew up in a ranching family. My grandpa moved to Idaho from Nebraska when Lucky Peak opened up the New York Canal area to Nampa and got his 120 acres or whatever and died in Nampa. And I was born in Nampa. I lived there one day and then moved to Eagle, of course, but that's where my mom's doctor was. And but worked in pharmaceutical industry for 11 years since 2000. In college, my wife and I put ourselves through college by doing property management for other companies. And so my mom was in property management when I was a kid, so I'd help her go fix properties up and rent out long-term rentals. So kind of got a taste for that, and we just kind of fell into this job in the Statesman one day. It said property manager. And so we applied and they hired us. And it was Park Lane Asset Management. So we managed the Idna Hotel, downtown Boise, the Idaho building right across from the Capitol, and about 120 properties in the north end. And then bought a property in McCall and didn't know anything about vacation rentals, but some friends of ours that you guys probably know, Frank and Kitty Tuft, that own Conifer Lodge on Conifer and Strawberry up in McCall, had us over for dinner one night and said, when I was trying to figure out how we were going to pay our taxes on this new property, it was $7,000 a year, they said, why don't you guys just rent it out occasionally? I had no idea what they were talking about. And so they had this 7,000 square foot house, and they said, well, that's what we do here. We're from Park City, and we love this. This is great. There's a huge amount of demand. So with our 4,500 square foot home that was bigger than our primary home, we decided to rent it out as a vacation rental using property management companies in Valley County. And we tried every one of them. None of them did a very good job. Terrible job, in fact. So while I was working, doing my other job in pharmaceuticals in the Midwest, these friends of ours said, you guys should just do it yourselves. There's nobody that's going to do a better job than you. So while we were managing our own properties in Boise, we decided to venture into vacation rentals, just one. We never intended to manage for anybody else. And with other people, our property was just, the value was diminished, quite frankly. They would bring people in that would trash the house, and it wasn't a very pleasant experience for us. And so we started renting our own property out, taking care of it, and just had a tough time finding employees that were willing to clean or maintain a place that was up to our standards. So I would get off work. I'd get off work from Minneapolis at 10:30 at night. I'd fly back to Boise. My wife would pick me up with our 2 kids at the time, and we'd drive up here and clean the property and do maintenance and turn around and go back home. And so we did that for a number of years and bought another property and another property. And finally told Marta, my wife, I said, we either sell everything or shoot myself. I mean, this is crazy. We were getting no sleep, or I quit my job and we move up here. I never had any desire, really never desired to move to Valley County. That was never a thought in my mind. But in 2014, either being with my family here or gone from home all the time, I got to make a choice. And my choice, of course, was to come up here. So I quit my job and we moved up here and had to change a law with Carrie Gestrin's help because our homeowners association decided to ban a vacation rental after I put every penny we had into it, that we needed this to make a go of it. And after we bought this home that was advertised as a great vacation rental, they didn't tell us that they did this, and then they started fining us and put a lien on our property. And it was not to make light of it or anything, it was a very difficult time, right? Where we weren't sure if we were going to lose everything or not. And so with Terry Gestrin was a really good guy, but he just had open heart surgery and he didn't really know. He says, you do all the work, I'll put my name on it. I said, okay. So I've been in politics at Boise State. I was the Senate Pro Tem for student body government for a couple of years. Really enjoyed that, but I learned everything I needed to know to go to the state legislature to be able to lobby for this law. And when I contacted Terry, I said, we need this to pass. We need an emergency bill to pass this year to protect homeowners. And I don't know, Sherry might know a little bit about it, but he laughed and said, there's no way that'll pass this year. And so, but we got it to pass with the governor. It was an uphill battle the whole way. So
we give you the ideas we want to take to the legislature, you'll write them and get them
very
through.
little that if I absolutely need it to happen, when I get focused on something, it happens. Right? And so that's one thing, people call me Radar O'Reilly because I know everybody, I know everything. I don't know everybody, but I know people that can help, right? And I know, I want to say gatekeepers or power brokers, but really I get to know the people that are in my industry and try to make friends with them to leverage them to help us and vice versa. It's a two-way street. So
It's called politics.
it's, yeah, which I enjoy actually. And people keep telling me you need to get in politics. I'm like, I will do it when I'm retired. I just don't have a whole lot of time to donate. I mean, I'm heavily involved in my church. I teach a seminary class at 6:30 in the morning to high school students every day, Monday through Thursday. And then We've got some really good people at work, which makes it a lot easier to operate. We just finished our little subdivision up here. We didn't finish it. We've got all the houses in on, believe it or not, Thursday night.
Wow.
And so,
Good timing.
yeah, so you have me to thank for
The snow.
God listened. I'm just saying, I didn't tell anybody at Tamarack or Brundage that I was praying for the opposite. But yeah, we got Thursday, finally got the last 2 homes rather, out of 6 brought up, so, and set. So our part's done.
Nice, nice.
Thank you guys.
So you are
for the
extremely
tax benefit.
busy. How are you gonna fit in one more thing?
That is, I wondered that when I was asked to teach seminary. That's a volunteer thing too. And I told my staff, you have to step up. I've got to do that. This is something I'm choosing to do to give back to kids and back to the community. So it's more important to me than other stuff. And I know you guys are capable of stepping up. I show up at work every day at 6:30. So Dwayne, you're going to have to show up for maintenance and take over. And Sherry, you're going to have to show up for cleaning. And Kelly, gonna have to promote you, sorry, and so they all the team, they're not perfect, but they've stepped up and filled in where I'm unable to, which has been really nice and beneficial to the company. It's also been good for their development. But how would I make time? Well, what is the time commitment, if I could ask that?
We meet the second Thursday of every month for our regularly scheduled public hearings. And then we will have, special meetings as needed for, the future zoning comprehensive plan changes. But you also get your packet the week before, then you have to go through all the applications before you come to the meeting.
Believe it or not, I still find time to waste and watch YouTube somehow. I don't know how, but I wake up at 2:30 in the morning and I can't sleep some nights. And like this morning, I got up at 2:30 and couldn't sleep. So I was like, well, I'll watch YouTube for a few minutes and watch some excavation videos. Sorry, those are boring to some people. I find them fascinating. And then I couldn't sleep for 2 hours until 5:30, and then I had to get up at 6. So I was like, well, whatever. But I still have extra time, believe it or not. So
Jonathan, do you know all about public hearings and Robert's Rules of Orders and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I mean, having been involved in the legislature and the Senate Pro Tem, I was in charge of that at Boise State. So I read the Robert's Rules of Procedure book, and it's 20 pages, something like that. But
We don't necessarily follow all of that.
well, we're human. Get that.
The other delicate issue is you're going to be privy to a lot of information that has to stay with you.
Well, so this is the big question I've got, is a lot of what I do would directly impact my business. And so I'm not sure how you would handle that, if you would just recuse yourself from votes or, like this silly.
And we deal with the same thing here on this commission as well. Sometimes we have a personal interest in it and you have to recuse yourself and literally go sit in the audience and let the other two duke it out. And it's kind of up to you to make those judgment calls.
Yeah.
And if you're not sure, you can announce it. You might have a conflict of interest and let their other board members kind of say, yeah, you do, or no, you don't, or we don't think you do, you can stay and do this one. But there's just a lot of public input you're going to receive, whether it's not even from the applicant, it might be from neighbors and stuff, that is going to be things that you have to keep to yourself, that you can't share with the newspaper, you can't share with your fellow commissioners, and in order for you to sleep at night.
Well, that's not a problem for me. I hate gossip. I don't hate gossip. I don't enjoy gossip. I don't even have time for that. So I have been in like church positions where really delicate situations that were extremely sensitive, that impacted people's families, that I couldn't tell my wife. She doesn't even know still a lot of things that she wouldn't want to know anyway. But I think this would be less sensitive in every aspect than some of the things I've dealt with in the past. So I don't think that'd be a problem.
Okay. You guys have any more questions?
So we are discussing, right now the county is looking at growth moving forward. And there's a lot of talk around updating our ordinances potentially rezoning some areas of the county that make sense. And there will be a comp plan update coming. What is your thoughts about the one zone that we currently have and doing everything through conditional use permit versus rezoning some?
Good question. I think just having one and doing a conditional use permit is a little bit silly, right? Because we definitely have areas like Lake Fork that are commercial industrial areas that people naturally want to go to. And then you've got obviously wildlife management areas that are off limits that always should be off limits in my opinion, but residential areas, a lot of these things over the years have naturally occurred because it's in, lakefront is not going to be your industrial ever, right? That's always going to be your commercial, or your residential. But I think having a clear cut, this is a commercial or different zoning areas, I think that makes sense. And people coming in that want to develop don't have to ask the question, if I buy this piece of property and then I apply for a CUP, is it going to be approved for my use? I think that actually dissuades people from wanting to invest in Valley County because there's more risk. So there's less risk. I think you're going to attract more people, more money. And I think good investment in the right place would benefit Valley County a lot and still be able to keep some of the rural feel that we have.
Okay.
I would be in favor of doing that.
Well, with that being said, though, you have to realize that that's a lot of work. It's not just something you do in 6 months or a year. It may take a few years and a lot of public hearings. And I guess my question, are you willing to do that work? Because it's a lot. I've been through it.
I'm not passionate about it, if that's what you're asking, but I don't give up on something. If I've committed to something, I've heard other people say this and then they give up on me. But I mean it. I don't. If I commit to something, I can't think of a time where I've given up. So Mike Moyle, I don't know if you guys know Mike, but
Yep. We all know Mike.
you know Mike? So he was my boss for years. So my family owned a mink ranch, and the Moyles owned a mink ranch in Star. We were in Eagle, and so they were the closest, not competitors because it wasn't competition, but closest mink ranch. And so I worked when I was graduated my senior year of high school. One of my good friends that was a basketball star worked for Mike for about 2 days. Mike needed somebody desperately that spoke English to kind of lead the crew of folks that he had to pick corn in the morning, to dig ditches, to weed his mint fields, his crops. Not a glamorous job by any means, and I think it was like $4.50 and $5 an hour maybe, somewhere around there. And he called me one day and he's like, "Hey, Russ quit on me. Really need somebody that I can trust." And I was like, "Oh no." And so, but I committed to Mike that I would help him out that entire summer. And it wasn't ridiculously hard. It was just not a glamorous job. I wanted to be an engineer. I never went to engineering school, but I thought that was what my career future held. But I committed to Mike that I would do that the entire summer, and I never wavered in that, even though it was not the job that I thought I should be in. But since I committed to Mike, I did it. That actually, I gotta say, ultimately that benefited me, because when I called him and needed a favor in 2015, he picked up the phone. And he helped a lot with that law. And so, I just don't get people that say they'll do something and then they don't do it. So that's an irritant of mine.
Appreciate that. Do you have any questions for us?
Well, the biggest one was honestly the time commitment, because no matter the difficulty or pressure or anything like that, I'm not worried I can handle that. That's been through some tough stuff before. But and so how many hours a month would you guys estimate you spend doing this?
Probably 6 hours
A week or a month?
a month.
I'd say 10.
That cut down on half my YouTube time.
I don't even know. Do you think that covers all the back time, or like the reading and?
Yeah, I'm talking about your study time.
I was gonna say there's study time,
no.
there's meeting time.
That's the biggest part of this job, is all the stuff you have to
10
read.
were the work sessions, at least, minimum 10.
So if you were to say a week, how much time would you say you actually spend thinking about P&Z?
But we're not P and Z, so we're
Sorry,
totally different,
How much would a
but
P&Z be? Yes, no, I'm sorry.
we spend a
Well, I
lot of
hope
time.
they spend
You
a
think-
large portion
More than
of
6
their
hours.
life thinking about it.
Yeah, but like actually studying and meetings, all of that combined.
Open books, things like that, I'd say at least, 10 hours on busy months. But we're gonna start this whole work session, zoning discussion, a lot more work sessions. So I anticipate 2 meetings a month.
Okay, well, I mean, I would say I have maybe 20 hours, let's just say 5 hours a week that I could donate somewhere around there. So if it's not much more of a time commitment than that, I understand some weeks might be more and some weeks less, but on average, I could donate 20 hours a month.
Mostly evenings.
Yeah, well,
Not
it's
meetings,
really, it's the
yeah.
support of my wife that matters. If I didn't have her support, she would be thrilled if I were to be able to do this, and so she would support me doing this, but that's really where it matters.
Thank you, Jonathan, for coming in and applying. Appreciate that. We're gonna try and make a decision today, and I'm sure Cindy will let everybody know probably by tonight to see which direction we go.
Not gonna hurt my feelings if you select me, or the other way around. So, either way. it
I
doesn't-
appreciate you coming in.
but-
You get selected, you might come back and retract that
Right,
statement.
right. I appreciate what you guys do too. Thank you for being county commissioners.
Well, that's usually the next step after P and Z.
Oh, no. Well, this might be, I don't know. No pressure, whatever way you guys want to go.
Not
But
gonna announce yet.
well, just thinking about governors,
Yeah.
No. All right, well, any other questions?
Good seeing you. Thank you for doing your
coming in.
project up here.
Oh, yeah, it's been fun. Thank you.
Keep the ball rolling on that too.
Oh, yeah, we got more. We got more. I've been talking to other
I do
people.
have to say that Jonathan is the one property management company that is trying to come into 100% compliance with the short-term rentals.
We're not perfect, though.
We
Please don't
appreciate
think
that.
But that is when we started our company, last thing, I guess. I told my wife, I said, no matter what we do, I want to be as honest and upfront as possible with this company because it has my name on it. That's not the only reason, but that's the thing. So when it comes to paying taxes or being in compliance, Cinda does a good job of correcting us or reminding us to do stuff. So appreciate that. All right, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so do you want to close the door and we can discuss, or can we leave the door open?
I think it's
I think we have to.
transparent that you
Okay.
have to just make your decision.
Who wants to go first?
I love the fact that Ken has the historical basis here, but I'm also looking at backgrounds and the way, who's representing what constituency. I like the fact that Ken is a farmer and a rancher. We need somebody that has a historical knowledge of this area. You got Neil on there, who's a business owner, and also long-term background. The third one that's gonna remain on there is.
Catlin's a rancher.
Okay, Catlin's rancher and also has that background. I like Sasha because she does have a different perspective. The real estate, when I served on planning and zoning, my real estate background was very helpful to me and actually helped design things so that when people came into the county and wanted to do something, they understood it. That educational background was really critical. So I like Sasha a lot. Jonathan's very, very busy. I really worry that he has time to do this. And also, I think he would be conflicted with the short-term rental issue.
You pretty much just took the words out of my
Oh,
mouth,
sorry, I
Sherry.
should
No,
let
no,
you go
no,
first.
start to finish. No, I agree with you 100%. I'm like, Ken, I really like his perspective on things. He opens his mouth and he says the things that I want to hear. So I appreciate everything that he's done for us in the past. I can't even tell you how valuable that experience is, I think, going to be going forward. I think he's a good blend of ranching and bigger perspective on the world. So I think he brings a lot to the table. So, I'd give him my recommendation for sure. Jonathan and Sasha both seem like great folks. I don't know either one of them very well. I like, again, what Sherry said is that we have a broad balance. And I think that Sasha brings a good perspective. She also represents the north end of the county, which I think is important. So with that, I also picked up on what I thought of as a perceived conflict with the STRs from Jonathan. And I also picked up on kind of a hesitancy as far as time. So those are the things that I saw, and I think we could be great with any of the three people who were just standing in here, but I think my ultimate recommendation would be for Sasha and Ken.
Yeah, I'm not gonna repeat everything you guys said, but I kind of agree all the way through. I think, I don't know Sasha at all, never met her before, but she seems pretty level-headed. I've known Ken since I was a little kid. To me, Jonathan, the question about, how much time is this gonna take, that kind of set me back, because I think it's gonna be more than 10 hours a month. To do a good job, to do it right, so I'm gonna make a motion then that we go ahead and nominate, or what's the word I wanna say, not nominate,
Actually, the
Point.
chairman appoints with approval of the other two.
appoint both Ken Roberts and Sasha, what was her last name?
Childs.
Childs to planning and zoning.
I'll second that recommendation.
Childs, yeah. Okay, it's been moved to second. Any more discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. So Cindy, you will take care of that appointment letter and do all that, or do I do that? Okay, thank you for doing that.
Way less painful than selecting a treasurer.
It was way less stressful than selecting a treasure. Oh my God, that was the worst day of my life.
Yeah,
Well, it's not like they, Jonathan can't try again, or Mitchell, or, it's a revolving.
oh, it is, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and things happen to people and sometimes they have to quit for other reasons, so.
Well, and just being engaged in the process,
Okay, we're gonna move on down to our agenda. Our next item is an action item. This is conditional use permit 21-31 Hamlin Sawmill. And I'm assuming we're asking for variances. So at this time, Cindy, I'll turn it over to you.
Ex parte or conflict of interest?
This is a public hearing.
Well, this is a site-specific land use application, so you have to ask if there's any ex parte or conflict.
But I don't run it like a public hearing, do I?
But we still want to know.
This is a new one. I don't remember doing this before, but,
Well, you haven't, well, no, we haven't done this before,
oh, that's why I don't know what
quite
I'm
like
doing.
this.
Okay, so at this time, I'll ask if any of the commissioners on board have any ex parte or conflict of interest.
I do not.
I do not.
And I do not either.
Okay, so the staff report for CUP 2131 Hamblin Sawmill. The applicant is Melinda Voicu and James Hamblin. The property is addressed at 14100 Norwood Road. It's a 32-acre parcel. This is not a public hearing. On November 10th, 2021, the Planning and Zoning Commission unanimously approved CUP 21-31 and unanimously recommended approval of the requested variances within the conditional use permit. Melinda Voicu and James Hamblin requested a conditional use permit for a portable sawmill within a 3,000 square foot pole barn. The maximum building height will be 25 feet. The sawmill is 24 inches long, portable, and powered by an electric motor. An updated site plan was received on October 18th, and the site plan shows the entire parcel, the proposed sawmill location, and then the other approved buildings on the parcel. I've listed the 3 variances built into this conditional use permit. The first one is the frontage setback variance. The statute requires a 75-foot frontage setback. The applicant only has a 50-foot wide easement accessing onto Norwood Road instead of 75 feet. The second variance is a front setback variance. So along that western boundary, 150-foot front setback is required, but the applicant is requesting just a 75-foot one. And these are all for a heavy industrial. This was reviewed as a heavy industry because it's a portable sawmill. And then the third variance is the setback from residential development, which states heavy industrial uses require a 1,000-foot setback from any residential development unless the impacts are adequately mitigated by implementation of standards as approved by the P&Z Commission. One subdivision has been approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission along the southern border, but has not yet received final plat approval. Another subdivision was recently submitted for the property along the western boundary, but we haven't taken that to public hearing.
Out on the other side of the road, the western boundary one?
No, it's between Norwood and this parcel.
I know where you're
His
at.
easement goes across this parcel.
Okay.
And if approved, these variances would allow the building to be 75 feet from the western property line and approximately 1,450 feet from Norwood Road. Additional trees and bushes would be planted for screening beginning in 2022. The applicant will use their water right to water from Slow Ditch. Log trucks and 2-ton trucks would access the sawmill. Occasionally, customers will visit the sawmill. However, products will typically be delivered by customers. CUP 2102 was approved on March 23rd, and that allows 3 residential homes on this parcel and a shop to support his home-based masonry business. And then he has a house for himself, one for guests, and one for his mother-in-law in that CUP. An existing shared driveway easement would be used to access the site from Norwood Road. CUP 2102 required that the existing driveway be improved to McCall Fire Department specifications to support fire apparatus and be no less than 12 feet wide. The existing driveway will be widened to 16 feet. A turnaround will be placed at the sawmill location to meet fire code. The parcel is 32 acres. The approved residences are currently addressed at 14100, 14102, and 14104 Norwood Road. The sawmill building would be given a separate address if it's approved. The application was submitted on September 27th, 2021. Legal notice was posted in the Star News on October 14th and October 28th. Potentially affected agencies were notified on October 8th, and the application was sent to the City of McCall and to the McCall Airport Manager. Neighbors within 300 feet of the parcel were notified by fact sheets on October 12th. The site was posted October 28th, and then the notice and application were posted on the Valley County website on October 8th. The Planning and Zoning Commission decision on November 10th was unanimous and there was no opposition. Therefore, the matter may be considered by the Board of County Commissioners as a regular agenda item because you're just looking at the variances. Agency comments received. Central District Health stated that if restroom facilities are installed, a sewage system must be installed to meet Idaho state sewage regulations. Garrett DeYoung, McCall Fire and EMS Fire Chief, had no comments. Jeff McFadden, Valley County Road Department Director, has questions. Will this sawmill bring logging trucks, delivery trucks onto Norwood Road? Is this a commercial mill for the public to purchase from a private or personal use lumber? There have been numerous approaches approved along that section of Norwood Road with more to come. Idaho Department of Environmental Quality provided general comments on air quality, wastewater, drinking water, surface water, hazardous waste, and groundwater contamination. Neighbor comments received none. Physical characteristics of the site, it's slightly sloped. To the north, it's a single-family residential and agricultural use. To the south is the single-family residential and agricultural with the approved CUP 2115, and that's the 360 Ranch subdivision. But that plat has not been recorded. And then to the east and west, single-family residential and agricultural. The proposal is categorized under 6 industrial uses, B, heavy industry, 5, lumber mill. Different areas of the Valley County Code were listed for general information. Looking for a page. So the staff questions, comments. The Valley County Code requires a 75-foot of frontage. The easement is only 50 feet. The definition of frontage is a strip or extent of land abutting a street, and you can either require the applicant to obtain an additional 25 feet of easement for a 75-foot frontage or recommend approval of the variance, which the Planning and Zoning Commission did. That was just a consideration. So the Planning and Zoning Commission conditions of approval of this are as follows. 1, the application, the staff report, and the provisions of the Land Use and Development Ordinance are all made a part of this permit as if written in full herein. 2, any change in the nature or scope of land use activity shall require an additional conditional use permit. 3, the use shall be established according to the phasing plan, or this permit shall be null and void. 4, the issuance of this permit and these conditions will not relieve the applicant from complying with applicable county, state, or federal laws or regulations, or be construed as permission to operate in violation of any statute or regulations. Violation of these laws, regulations, or rules may be grounds for revocation of the conditional use permit or grounds for suspension of the conditional use permit. Lighting must comply with the Valley County lighting ordinance. All exterior lights shall be fully shielded so that there is no upward or horizontal projection of lights. The lights can only be a maximum of 20 feet in height. The applicant shall provide and maintain orderly and proper disposal of waste, including byproducts of the operation, other solid waste, and sanitary waste. Must comply with Central District health requirements. Must comply with the requirements of the McCall Fire District. New structures, including fencing greater than 6 feet tall, must have building permits and be approved as part of the conditional use permit. 10, the site must be kept neat and orderly. 11, shall obtain a sign permit prior to installation of a sign advertising the business. Hours of operation are limited to 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Saturday. Must control dust on the driveway. Cannot exceed the maximum of 2 logging trucks per day and an average of once per week. So they might have 2 coming, 1 week and then none coming for 2 weeks. Cannot exceed 4 employees, including the 2 applicants, and approach must meet the standards for heavy equipment use. Shall have the variances approved for setbacks and frontage by the Board of County Commissioners. A public hearing will not be required by the P&Z Commission because the P&Z decision is unanimous. And since I prepared that staff report, I do have one other recommended condition if you choose to approve this, and that's after having a conversation with ITD Aeronautics, is that they submit Form 7460-1, which puts them on notice of what they're doing.
Is there a height restriction then because of that?
This is 25 feet high. Their houses will be taller than this.
Okay.
But it's working with them to let them know what's going on.
Wasn't there a restriction on a single story in that area because of the aeronautics?
Yeah, there are places in the 360. That's why I want him to work with ITD Aeronautics to make it with the 7460-1.
Okay. I thought, I was concerned about height restrictions too, because I thought this was over that height restriction.
It's my understanding, Mr. Hamlin's here, that this is kind of in a dip and then it goes much higher
Got it.
on the north side.
Okay.
The land does itself.
Okay.
But I'd rather leave it to the aeronautic division to make that assessment.
Agreed.
And I'm pretty sure it's a 7460-1.
So on the 50-foot versus 75-foot road, so my concern with where this enters Mission and Norwood, it's right at the top of that hill. So you've got logging trucks either slowing down or speeding up right at the top of a hill that is a very steep hill to the north side.
I don't know that this is right at the top of that hill. It's back further to the south. You want to get up and,
James, come on up to the mic for questions.
I'm James Hamlin. The top of the knoll is actually at the very tip of it would be just a little bit above Wes, the caretaker of the DeBoer property, where my entrance is like 300 feet from that point. As you hit the ridge and then you come down, you have 300 to 400 feet there, easy.
Okay.
There's a 20-foot parcel there, and there's two 20 parcels that border my property, and that knoll starts right in the middle of those guys' property. So they have quite a bit of room. I mean, I plow snow there, and I can pull out and totally back up and feel comfortable when I go back in. My neighbors, I would say, yeah, that's pretty scary to have bigger vehicles, but where my driveway is a lot further down.
So are you coming into the middle of where those two 20-acre parcels are?
Nope,
Is
at the end.
you're on the
The end.
south side or the north side?
I'm on the south.
he goes right along
I
the
thought it
edge.
was,
Yep, right where the chlorophyll stitch is. Can you see that?
okay, I see that now.
So I don't know who to ask this, probably Cinda maybe, or maybe James. The reason why you didn't put the pole barn in the middle of the lot, is that because it's wetlands?
No, the reason why we didn't put it in the middle of the property is because that's where the airstrip is, and to be away from them
Oh,
is
okay.
a lot safer. And you can see there's a slow ditch at the property. We like the ditches. We don't want to ruin them. I don't want to put culverts over them. I want them there for the animals. And so it's kind of a happy medium with that 75 foot, and then keeping me away from the ditch makes sense. It's a nice flat area. It's kind of tucked down. Put it in the middle of the property. I think it would, for my neighbors aspect, I think we would be like right in everybody's view. I mean, you know where Brown's Pond is?
Mm-hmm.
You would kill everybody's view right down to Brown's Pond. So putting it there is being considerate of my neighbors too, because
Okay.
it is an operation, and yeah, want to be friendly with everybody.
And the Planning and Zoning Commission, they stated that the reason, they thought that this didn't need to be the 1,000 feet from any residential development was because it is an electric motor. And so they emphasized that. It's not going to be a gas
like a
powered
logging
noisy
truck.
operation.
We got logging trucks and everything else though.
Up to 2 a week, but not to exceed, 4 in a month?
How big are the lots of the surrounding lots that he is next to? So we're allowing 50 foot away from an adjoining lot. And you said there's a subdivision that's coming in on that adjoining lot?
Well, it hasn't been reviewed or approved yet.
Okay, but there will be residential development there. But it's not on a sewer. They're gonna be individual septic, so they have to be at least an acre or 2.
Yeah, there'd be a minimum of 1 acre.
When you take the 50-foot aspect into it, there's my easement, their easement for the ditch, plus their septic at the bottom, and their homes. It's a long ways away.
So what is your easement from the ditch?
Mine's 20 on my side, 30 on their side, and then they have, all their wetlands areas. Their houses are up on top of the knoll. It is quite a ways away when you look at it.
Like we're putting industrial right in the middle of residential.
Actually,
And allow
what we used to think of a sawmill as an agricultural use. Now, if you were doing planing and you were doing blue lamb beans and all that kind of stuff, you get in more in the industrial where this is a portable sawmill, so I'm assuming the head moves back and forth, or is the log on a track that goes back and forth through a solitary saw?
The head moves.
The head moves?
Yep.
And it's a bandsaw,
No, circular saw.
circular saw?
Yep.
Cindy, is there hours on operation?
Yes, they said Monday through Saturday, I think it was 8 to 5.
8 to 5?
And the Saturday use is to allow,
In
Why do you
case
need
one of his
Saturday?
customers came and picked up something. Or,
Yeah.
sorry.
I mean, Saturdays are really good for people that are trying to get stuff ready for the week.
I'm just thinking about not cutting on Saturday because that is when people are outside enjoying their little bit of peace and quiet in the county.
Well, we do need to make a living too.
You got Monday to Friday to do that. I mean, if you allow people to come in and buy or sell on Saturday, that's different than actually cutting on Saturday.
Yeah, and there's always those people that need special boards, and then to not have a time frame. I mean, in the wintertime, it's hit or miss if you can work. Like today, you wouldn't work today, but if Saturday was nice, I would sure work Saturday.
James, what are you going to do with all your sawdust?
Franz Whitty or a lot of landscaping companies want that stuff. I like it, and the horse arena would probably purchase some of that. There's a need for sawdust, and people want it.
Well, I'm just thinking down the road, you may want to consider baling it in the little plastic, because that's a big market for that stuff. But just loose sawdust is hard to deal with.
Yeah, and then the leftover chunks would be put on pallets and sold as firewood.
We didn't notice the people to the south and to the west.
And no one wrote in concerned about any of it.
And the 360 ranch is to the south.
Yes. Adjacent to it, yes.
I work with all those guys. They all know that I'm doing a sawmill.
They don't know?
Oh, they do. Yeah, they all know I'm doing a sawmill. I mean, I work with them. That's why they're not saying anything. And they don't want us to all approve their stuff too. They don't want us to say anything to them. So.
There is, I believe, a portable sawmill, which I need to chase down, just to the east of his property. I mean, yeah, just to the east.
Yeah,
of your
well, I have
property.
neighbors that
think
have them right now, and I'm going through the loop. I mean, not the loopholes, but I'm going through the proper stage to do this.
We
And
appreciate
all my
you doing
neighbors
that.
are doing it too.
Yeah, they'll be
So-
next.
At least I'm putting my best foot forward to make it right. with
And we
it.
appreciate that. I had another question too. I see you have a home-based masonry business too as well.
Yep.
So do you have a yard where pavers and bricks and stuff are stored already?
Yep.
And do we have a CUP for that?
Yep.
How's that working out?
Yeah, it's good. I just got there this year and built the first house there. And yeah, it's good.
So anybody can come in and buy bricks from you or or pavers or?
That's like once a year.
No, it wasn't
they-
approved
you-
for retail.
Yeah, you would
Oh.
pick your own rock that you want me to put on your house. I order it. It might sit at my place for a day, or more than likely never comes to my place. It goes to your house, and then we install it. The only thing.
Oh, okay. You don't actually make bricks or
Oh no,
pavers there. Okay.
Well, I'm a stone mason.
Okay. You're a mason. Okay.
Yep.
Good.
So the only thing that comes back to my house is a little bit of leftover stuff, and if somebody wants to buy it, it's like a hit or miss. I mean, I'd like them to come and have it for free.
Get rid of it.
Get rid of it, yeah.
And what does it mean the approach from Norwood Road must meet standards for heavy equipment? That's not something we're looking at, is it?
That's something that we want him to work with Jeff on, to make sure that it's wide enough for those trucks to pull in and out without caving culverts on both sides.
That's my concern about the 50 feet. I don't, 50 feet for a lumber truck,
I've
filled with
had
lumber.
I've had full semis already down my property delivering rock, so they don't have any problems. Then that's a 50-foot trailer. That's bigger than the logging trucks.
And logging trucks can do tight corners.
Yeah, I mean they're up in the mountains on those dirt roads, tight roads.
Okay. Any more questions for Cinder or James? So I'm assuming, Cinder, that we're making a motion to approve the variances.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes, but I wanted you to add that condition about the FAA Form 7460-1.
Oh, shoot. Now I got how many conditions of approval? I'm trying to find it. There we go. Well, you don't have them numbered, so
Yes, that would be the 18th one.
18th. And what was the name of that ordinance again? You wanted that?
Form 7460-1. 7460-1.
Okay, everybody understand what we're doing?
Yep.
And we did notice the Idaho Division of Aeronautics.
And
I
they,
didn't hear anything back. I just want him to make sure.
Is that the form that we were talking about for the 360? What do you call it? You had a name.
Not the navigation easement
Okay.
for the city of McCall, but
Yeah.
it's a 7460 to make sure that there aren't any conflicts. And it's putting them under notice of what's lying underneath these airport areas within like, I think it's 10,000 feet or something.
Right.
We
and
just-
that the lights actually meet their requirements, because he's gonna be right underneath that flight path.
I don't believe it's his intention to actually work at night, but that is just one of our standard conditions. 'Cause it's 8 to 5. In the winter, a few times it might be dark.
There's a lot of times it's too cold to saw logs.
Yeah.
It's too cold. You get ice buildup on the blade and it doesn't cut straight. Okay, anybody have any other comments? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve or deny.
I'll make the motion that we approve the conditional use, or the variance on conditional use permit 21-31 with the addition in the conditional of approvals for the, did you say it was ITD's form or the FAA's form?
I believe it's FAA Form 7460-1 or ITD. Just say Form 7460.
With the form 746-01.
Have a second?
With reservation, I'll second that.
So moved and seconded. Any more discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
I think there's a lot of interest in custom lumber for, chimney logs.
I think it's a great use because we have so much dead timber and dying timber up here. It's a great use for that timber other than just burning it up like what just happened in the national forest. So I think this is great.
I think it's a great use, don't get me wrong. I just think we're putting a lot of really heavy pressure on that section of the county moving forward. Norwood's not a great road, neither is, just the access points there I'm a little concerned with.
I think Will at some point is going to get out of the business. Will Smith.
That he's further out in the county and, I like his location better than
But he's surrounded by a lot of homes, like really, really close.
And his is a different type of mill.
we shall see.
I think we'll see.
Thank you, James, for coming in. Good luck. We're going to take a quick break and then we come back at 3 for a public hearing. Need a break this evening.
It's good to see you.
Hello.
I haven't seen
Hello.
Tara Utter in like 2 years.
Oh, your hair's getting long since that.
So's yours.
Question is, are you still tan from vacation?
No, it's faded.
I don't want to hear from you guys. My vacation, I got dumped snow on.
It wasn't a good one either.
Nope, it wasn't.
Oh, it's great, I think.
Even with those lines?
I could read it.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, I was gonna text Craig and see if you guys were gonna hop over to Maui on the corporate jet while you were down there.
Oh. Yes, definitely.
Well, we've been wanting to go to Kauai anyway.